Let me know. Let me know. Let me know. Let me know.
Hey guys, welcome to Miss Rose Day. Please go ahead and subscribe on that bottom left corner. Today I'm coming to y'all with a story time, and my story time today is about that time I moved to Georgia, which was actually last month. So that time I moved to Georgia was actually me moving to Georgia in the last month. So I have been here a month. Yesterday would make a month of being here officially in Atlanta. And when I tell you guys, it is a story. It is a story. Basically, this whole trip, this whole move was a leap of faith. A leap of major faith. Like, I don't even know how to describe it except just like a really big leap of faith. So first of all, let me take you back to the origins of me wanting to move to Georgia. So I felt like I've always wanted to come here for years. Like, as you guys know, I'm an author. I write stories all the time. So back in the day, this story was probably like from 8th grade. I wrote a story called City's Distance. And the main character was from Georgia. And I realized that when I look back on it a few years ago, and I was like, oh wow, I really always wanted to move there. So yeah, I've always wanted to come here. I don't know what it is about this place. I don't know if it's because Stomp the Yard. I don't know if it was like the whole culture back in the early 2000s or the mid 2000s, I should say. But that I just always wanted to come here. So I came here. Let me give you guys some more background. So I have visited Georgia at least every year since 2014. 2014 I came for the very first time, and I was just visiting, trying to get a feel for the place, and I liked it. 2015 I also came here for a conference, and in 2016 I came for a conference and a birthday trip, and so it was pretty cool. It was good. I remember in 2016, and I remember because that was the year I graduated, and oh well, that was only last year, so I don't know why I'm acting like it was like 10 years ago. But anyway, so 2016 I come here, and I remember I'm at worship. I'm in worship at a church, and I felt like God was saying to me, you're gonna be moving to Georgia and I want you here. And so I was like, okay, God, cool, confirmation. So all of 2016 I just basically spent being stressed about moving in my life and where I'm going in life and what I'm gonna do and who I'm gonna become, and all of these things that make the average 22-year-old nervous. So basically 2016 I was at a job for about 3 years, and I was graduating in May, that I had to do a mandatory internship at a law firm. And side note, I was doing a mandatory internship for a major that I did not want to be. So basically I was wasting my life away for about 2-3 months at an internship in a field that I don't want to work in, and I didn't end up working in, and I won't ever work in. I'm annoying, guys. Like, I'm so indecisive. So anyway, so I was at that place. And that internship was a hot mess. And I have so many, you know what, I'm not even gonna say those stories, but I just have some stories about that internship. So anyway, I'm at this place, and it was cool, you know. It was interesting. And so I was at that place, and I was looking for a job because I knew that I would be moving to Georgia soon, and I could not find a job, y'all. Like, oh, by the way, this internship was non-paid. So basically I quit my job to go to a non-paid internship in a field that I knew I didn't want to be in, but it was mandatory. Like, if I didn't do that internship, I would not be getting my degree. So I was there, and I was looking for a job. I couldn't find a job. And so after that internship ended, my job search like even extended. Like, I think I spent a good 6 months looking for a job, and no place called me. I think I got one interview that whole summer, and in the fall I got about 2 interviews, and one of those interviews is the job that I ended up walking into. So in November of last year, I started working at a real estate firm, and it's there where I realized that, well, you know, it wasn't even there I realized. I always had an interest in real estate, but it was really there that I realized, you know, the complexities of it, and, you know, the different things that go into it. And I realized that I definitely wanted to go into it once I arrived to Georgia. So I'm at this job for so November to about last August. And you know, I was just stressed at that job because um, you know, it was a great place, an awesome place, but I didn't make much money. And it was hard for me to believe that I would be moving, because at the end of 2016, God had told me to get ready because I'm going to be moving soon. So I was in a panic because I basically just spent that whole year just broke. And now I'm moving, so that means I have to save. And, you know, I was always kind of good at saving, but this was like on a whole nother level. Like, this is saving for a whole move, like a whole one. Anyone want to answer why black people always gotta say, like, whole? Like, is it gonna be half of a move? Anyway, so fast forward, I'm working this job at the real estate firm, and another issue comes up. I need a car. I need a car. Very legitimate need. And I need a car to get to work, and I also need a car to survive in Georgia, because everyone knows you can't really just be taking no transportation in Georgia like you do Massachusetts. It's not that accessible down here. And so you know, I remember I was telling God, I was going to this Bible study, and this Bible study was based off of Leviticus and Exodus, I think. And basically, a lot of the theme of those two books was just how the Israelites were very ungrateful, and they were rebellious, and they were fearful. And because of, you know, their fear and their rebellion, and their just thought that God wouldn't provide their need. And that was me. I was always complaining. I was always rebellious. I was always like, God, you ain't coming through, so I'm just going to do this. God, you ain't doing what I feel like you should be doing in my life, so I'm going to do that. God, I just don't understand why nothing is happening. Like, why isn't $1 million falling in my lap? Like, why aren't you setting me up with this job a year in advance so I can just walk into this position in Georgia? Like, things weren't going in the way that I thought they were supposed to go in the beginning of this year. I was just pretty nervous, and I went on this faith fast, and I was just like, God, you know what? Like, I'm not going to complain for a whole month. I'm going to go on this faith fast, and I'm going to pray. I'm going to put my belief and my faith with 3 other people, and I'm going to pray for them, and I'm going to believe God for them. And I'm not going to complain. I'm not even about little stuff. Like, I'm not going to complain about traffic on my way to work. I'm not going to complain when someone eats my last whatever in the refrigerator. So yeah, so that was basically March. And I remember telling God, like, you know, I'm going to do this, but I want 3 things. And those 3 things were having the publisher, well, not a publisher, but having a publisher I was working with at the time tell me he wants to work with me on my book. I also wanted another source of income or money to put down on a down payment for my car. And I wanted that car by March 23rd. I wanted a car, basically. So those are the 3 things. And I put, I want this by March 23rd. I didn't think this was really going to happen, but for whatever reason, God came through, and it legit went by one. Like, the first thing was, my mom came up to me, and she was just like, oh, I'm going to give you $2,000 to put down for a car. And I was like, oh my God, no, this is a coincidence. And then out of nowhere, like, my other family members starts sending me money, saying that they're gonna just help me out with my car. Mind you, I didn't even ask them. Like, they did not know I was going on this fast. They didn't know I was having this prayer. I didn't complain about it because I was on a no complaining, you know, basis with this fast. So I was just surprised. I was like, wow. And then after that, a publisher I was working with told me he would help me with marketing my book. And that was major for me because I've never experienced anything like that business-wise, and he was just so open, and he was just feeding me all of this information that I felt like he should have been charging me for, and it was just great. And then I started to search for my car, and you know what happened? I signed off on my car on March 23rd. So that's how I knew that God was with me on this journey. So fast forward towards the summer. I know that it's time. The time is coming up. I put it in my head that I'd be moving in August. And on top of that, I felt like God was saying, move now. Like, I felt like it went from you'll be moving soon to move now. And so that really like made me nervous. And I was just panicking, and I was just like, God, like, I don't have a job. I don't have a job in the ATL, and everyone knows you can't find jobs down there. And I was just complaining, and I was just scared. And so I was just like, you know what? I'm gonna move out on faith though. And so I have a friend who had moved down to ATL, and she, oh my God, she's an angel from God. Like, basically I just hit her up and I told her, you know, this is what I feel like God is doing in my life right now. And I don't have a job, but I want to know if you'd be open to helping me out for a little bit. And she said yes. And so basically I ended up staying with her. I'm still staying with her until I find my own apartment. But there were some obstacles that came before that. So pretty much I was just questioning even moving because people were discouraging the heck out of me, y'all. Like, people would come to me and be like, oh, you're moving to Georgia. I just don't think that's a good idea. You know, you not having a job and all. Like, what's in Georgia anyway? You know you won't find a husband in Georgia. You know this is gonna happen in Georgia. You know that is gonna happen in Georgia. And I was just like thinking, like, you know, they might be right. Maybe I won't find what I want in Georgia. Maybe God isn't calling me to Georgia. And so these things like just kept messing with my mind, and God really had to sit me down and be like, bruh, did I tell you to tell everybody that you was moving? Did I tell you to take a survey on what it is I told you to do? If I was concerned about their opinions, I would reveal that to them. But I revealed that to you. And the thing is, guys, like, I understand wise counsel. You all need it. So I suggest you have wise counsel. And you come to people who God has entrusted to be in your life. But when it comes to just, you know, being all out in the open about, you know, the moves that God wants you to do, don't do it. Just don't. It's just not worth it, because it doesn't make sense to just, you know, take a poll on if you should do a certain thing in your life when God had already said yes. You know what I mean? So that was one. But two was the major thing. So I finally put in my 2-week notice at my real estate job. This was back in August, and I was so excited, and they were sad to let me go, but they were just happy for me, which I really appreciated, because coming from the job I was at prior, like, they was not happy I was leaving. So I just really appreciated them, and you know, they even gave me a good reference for the job I have right now. Yes, your girl did get a job. So so pretty much I put in my 2-week notice, and I was bold. I was ready. I was like, God, you're gonna take me to this new place. I'm gonna get a job. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna have all of this stuff happen in my life. I'm moving to Georgia. We ended up all the way in Pennsylvania, and in Pennsylvania, that's when the pain was just unbearable. And so I told her, I was like, girl, let's just go to the emergency room.